G'day and welcome to the Hunters Campfire podcast. My name's Mark and along with good mate Ian, we're here to help with all things hunting. If you're looking to start but don't know where to begin, you want to make the most of your next trip away or even plan that hunt of a lifetime, we've got something for you. You'll find our podcasts on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon and plenty of others. And if you want more, head over to our YouTube channel, The Hunters Campfire, where we have plenty of how-to and hunting videos along with the full video production of every podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and good hunting. Well, good evening, gents, and good evening, listeners. This is our first podcast back from the Great Adventure of the Northern Territory, which by the time you hear this, you'll see lots of videos and hear lots of stories and see all sorts of really cool stuff, and probably hear us talking about already going next year. So that's where we're at. And with us tonight, we have Jason Menzies from Liquid Antler. Now, how Jason ended up being here is that at the Toowoomba Outdoor Expo, we met up with Jason and we did a very short 15-minute podcast about nothing in particular, and I think it involved a couple of drop-ins from various people, so it was actually a really fun thing to do. But at the end of it, I thought, we should really probably sit down more formally and actually talk a little bit about Liquid Antler and about yourself and your hunting and where you're taking it. So that's the story tonight. So
thank you very much,
Jason.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep, you're welcome. So before we get into it, something we do a little bit of a round table or a wrap up. As I said, the biggest thing for us has been the Northern Territory trip, and we've just got back. But if there's anything happening that you want to talk about, by all means jump in. But to lead the way, I'll throw it over to Ian and John if they want to add anything to us or give us an update on anything that's happening.
I'll quickly jump in and just say, if you look above Ian's head, you can probably see something that came back from the Northern Territory. And whilst that was not one that we shot, that's one that we found. We did shoot quite a few, very similar to that. But it just shows that was a very successful trip and a very enjoyable trip. And for myself, I'm finding it very hard to adjust back to normal life. All I think about is going back to the territory.
I won't go on too much about NT much more than these fellas, because there's so much to talk about, and we don't want to take away from all of the great things we'll talk about with Jace. But yes, hell of a trip, really enjoyed it. And I had to drive back to Brisbane today to sit in a day of boardroom meetings, and all I could do was stare at photos on my phone as people were blah, 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 blah. So it was great. But yes, as Mark said, we'll get back there again, and we've learned a lot, and we'll apply those learnings and have another good crack at it. It should be fun. Nothing else that I can report on. It's pretty much all that's been on my mind.
Well, for me, I should mention that I'm wearing a hook and bone trading. Again, the Northern Territory link was that I told Craig that I'd wear this around the camp and get a photo of it, but it never got below about 1,000 degrees.
It was far too warm.
It was supposed to be cooler at night, but it just didn't happen. It was like it didn't show up. And the final thing I'll say, and look, I can't help it, I'm going to talk about territory a little bit anyway. I looked at a guided site, some numbers about, and I did a quick add up of the animals that we took in terms of numbers, and what a guided site would have charged us, and man, oh man,
we were in the hundreds of thousands.
We made out like bandits, we really. No, we robbed them, I'm surprised that they didn't chase us out of town. What was it? 8 donkeys, 9 pigs, 10 buffalo, between 6 guys. So yeah, we made out like bandits, and it shows the power of if you can do it, if you can work hard for it, how a self-guided hunt, or at least a semi-self-guided hunt, can be such a more rewarding. And financially, as well as from an experience point of view, because whilst we had some really great support in the Northern Territory, primarily we paid to access just a great big place, and away we went. So it was fantastic.
Jason, what's going on in your world?
I suppose first of all, I will explain the haircut. So you can see I'm running a bit of a mullet at the moment. So I am doing the Mullets for Mental Health this month. So raising money for the Black Dog Institute. Cool. They're an organisation that researches into mental health here in Australia. So kind of got behind them, and I did it last year. I'm back on the bandwagon this year, and seeing if I can improve on the odd mullet there. So, but yeah.
I reckon Ian should be jumping on that bandwagon, mate.
I did a shape for a cure. Just never came back.
But yeah, that's the main thing I'm running at the moment, and just got back from work. But before that, I did get away for I think 3 days west of Brisbane here, and managed to get onto a few deer, which was nice. And that was probably about 10 days ago. That was my last trip that I got away on.
Nice.
Oh, well, that sounds like a great segue. So give us a bit of a rundown on that.
So I'm lucky enough or grateful enough to have some access, probably about three and a half hours west of Brisbane. And I get away with a mate each time, Ron. So we got away for 3 days. And, yeah, it was a great trip. We shot 2 hinds, and we also managed a couple dogs, to help the landholder out. So, yeah, it was a great trip to fill the freezer and it was just a great time. Just love just getting out in the bush there and spending time with a mate, and also got some good footage which I put into a bit of a video, which was good fun.
I was going to say, mate, if you've just come back from that trip and you're talking about that now, and it's not even your latest YouTube clip on your channel.
Yes, that's the last one that came out was just the deer and wild dog one I put up. So it was about 10 days.
I thought I noticed the paddock to plate one that followed that, but maybe that was around the other way. But yeah, I mean, you're obviously pumping out some content. Yeah,
trying to, mate. Like I'm trying to get out at least a couple of times a month, getting away, and just love getting out and trying to keep improving on my videos. And yeah, it's just I'm enjoying it. So just get out there and explore, and put a bit of a video together at our end, which is always nice to kind of remember the trip and show people what we get up to.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
So if we kind of take a step back, so how about you give us a bit of a run for those who haven't heard the podcast from the tour? How about you give a bit of a rundown, of your hunting journey and how you got to be Mr. Liquid Antler, or is it? Hang on, I might have guessed your pun. But
we can run with that. I accept that.
Okay, sure. Look, I don't want to upset.
We have a bit of a pronoun conversation up in the territory. So I guess that's where it's coming from, Mike.
So I originally raised in New Zealand, Hamilton, or the North Island in New Zealand. No. You're amazed. My accent has definitely decreased, or not as pronounced as it was.
No, it hasn't. No.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I was raised in Hamilton, and a little bit of introduction with hunting with my dad. A little bit of goat hunting, a little bit of firearms at the range, but not a hell of a lot. It wasn't more until the university days where I met a couple guys, and they kind of introduced me to deer stalking, and then from there I was hooked. Every weekend, every break at uni, were either south in the Kaimanawas chasing sika deer or chasing red deer through the Utawetas, and I was probably hunting more than I was at uni during those times, but it was just loved it. As soon as I got that first deer, I was just sold on the old deer stalking. But I pretty much finished university, and then I was over here to Australia, so I work in the mining industry, and I've always managed to juggle the kind of hunting side of things, if it's getting back to New Zealand or was trying to at least get back a couple of times a year to New Zealand to hunt. But then I've also been fortunate. I have hunted up in the Northern Territory, down in Victoria, and here in Queensland and New South Wales. So, it's just, I suppose, it's from the university days until today, and the passion's still there. I love it, and it's a big part of me.
Well, very good. Sorry, Mark, go.
So
I was just curious, your early days in Hamilton, you were hunting the kaimais, I assume?
Yes, the kaimais, the kaimanawas, the Utawetas, so everything, in 2 or 3 hours of Hamilton, there was 3 or 4 species or 5 species of deer in pretty close proximity, so kind of cut my teeth in, around the North Island there, and just like I say, every weekend, every break, we were planning trips, and the passion for it was high, and we were out exploring, so it was great. Especially those early years, you just love, just checking out new areas and exploring.
Yeah, well, I think I hunted the other side of those mountains.
Oh yeah,
being from the Bay of Plenty. So Hamilton's on the other side of the Kaimai range from where I was brought up in the Bay of Plenty. So I hunted the eastern side, and I'm assuming you hunted the western side and probably climbed over it and all those good things. But yeah, it's an interesting bit of country if you don't mind getting tangled up in superjack.
Yeah, it's pretty
nasty vines that turn you around and upside down and get you lost.
Yeah.
But, it's good country. I head back over that way from time to time to visit family, and always like to take a stroll back up in the hills to remind myself how crazy it was back in my younger years as well.
Yeah, that superjack and those kaimais is it can be pretty nasty when you get caught up in that, and you're trying to battle your way through.
Superjack, for those that don't know, is a vine that's probably about maybe a little bit thicker than your thumb, and it just grows in a tangled mess. Big long vines could be 4 or 5 metres long and all tangled up in themselves, and it's if you get caught up in that stuff, it's a real pain. And it gets slippery. It's actually edible as well. The green shoots on the end of it, but it's quite a challenge to hunt through. You end up sticking to the tracks as much as possible. But so
is it thorny or is it no?
It's smooth. It's just thick, but you could one of those vines would easily hold your weight. They're incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like walking through blackberries.
No.
Nothing like that. It's just you just get tripped up, tangled up. It's just hard stuff to get through. I knew an old fella that used to do a lot of bushwalking, and when the ends of the vines were supple, he used to bend them over and tie a knot almost around. He had a special knot that he tied, and then he'd go back a year later and it'd grow like that, and he'd cut it off at the base and use it as a walking stick. It would grow the handle. It's really versatile.
Oh, okay, wow.
But, for the hunter that wants to go on the track, it's a curse. When did you leave New Zealand?
It was about 2012. Actually, no, sorry, 2009, 2010. I flew over to Western Australia, so I was pretty limited on the hunting aspect in Western Australia, but I was getting back every rut, the March, April kind of time of the year to get back and either chase sika or red around the North Island. And I was over in Australia for about 3 years, I think it was. And then we decided, me and a mate, that back in New Zealand, actually decided to throw in our jobs, and we spent 6 months hunting the length of New Zealand. So that was back in 2012. We started down on Stewart Island, hunting whitetail deer, and then over the next 6 months worked our way up the country. So into Fiordland, chasing wapiti, chasing tahr chamois up the west coast, chasing reds, and then into the North Island, sambar, rooster, sika, fallow. Did that over a 6 month period, and we just lived out of a ute and just drove around, parked up, refuel, next spot, into the bush 2 or 3 weeks, back out, refuel, go again. So looking back now, I was pretty stoked we took that opportunity. We had no responsibility with freedom and just did it. So it was a pretty incredible trip.
And what an amazing country it is for the hunter to be able to hunt the length of both the islands, different species along the way, such a variety. What an adventure! It's unreal.
And would that be would that be public land?
Yeah, all public land. So 7 species of deer, public land right the way up the country. All Department of Conservation managed. And like I say, started Stewart Island hunting whitetail, then just worked our way up. We wanted to target all 7 species of deer, plus tahr, chamois, and goats. We managed to get, we didn't shoot every species, but we managed to get them, get eyes on every species, and we still had a fair bit of success as well. So the one thing, definitely New Zealand, they're very lucky to have that access and options available to any hunter, really.
And what was the most elusive?
Most elusive. Well, we both managed to get a whitetail on Stewart Island, so that was great to tick that off the list. The wapiti for me, there's plenty of wapiti animals, but to find a bull that we would warrant shooting. That was the tough one. You could shoot plenty of animals.
Yep.
There was, but to actually get on eyes on a big bull, we had one opportunity one late evening. We saw a reasonable bull, but that we were in Fiordland for 3 weeks. That was before they had a very strict kind of period on the ballot like they do now. So we went in pre-ballot and actually managed to hunt for 3 weeks in Fiordland, and yeah, that was a pretty incredible part of the 6 months.
I know they have guidelines on the Wapiti. Back then, when you were hunting it, you're saying it wasn't a strict pre-season.
Mm-hmm.
Were the guidelines simply guidelines, or or were you? I mean, you obviously be frowned upon for taking animals that weren't on their okay to shoot list or size or gender. But what's the deal with that now?
So back then it was, as it is now, they closed the blocks pre-ballot. So back then you could access the blocks before the ballot, and there's still no kind of limit on what you can shoot. It's definitely frowned upon if you're shooting young bulls, but at the end of the day you're still hunting public land. But the plan and the goal is to build that herd, or to help develop the herd. So they've been culling the red deer out and trying to manage the Wapiti deer, and to see those big bulls grow, people have to not pull the trigger. So there definitely isn't really you can't not shoot something, but it's really kind of pushing that aspect to build or grow or improve the Fiordland herd. The big bull, the young bulls have to be left to grow.
I think it's commendable, isn't it? Really, that the hunting public over there respect those guidelines, even though they don't have to. I mean, given that it's a ballot, and someone like myself, Mark, Jono, we could stick in for the ballot, and we could head over and hunt Wapiti. It might be the only opportunity you ever get, and you see a subpar bull and not pull the trigger on it because it's outside the guidelines. And I know that's the expectation when you go into it, but I think it's incredible that everyone gets behind that, and the quality of that herd is growing so well.
It definitely has improved, Sorry, but yeah, there's definitely they are. There are still a lot of young bulls shot each year, though. I think it is decreasing, but like you say, people do travel a long way to go hunt the Wapiti, and a lot of money, time, and that is invested, and young bulls are still getting shot. So hopefully the kind of people kind of do ease up, and we continue to see there's some cracker bulls shot this year. I did have a ballot, but unfortunately with everything that was going on at the time, I wasn't able to travel over there, so I had to hand my ballot in. My mate and another mate of mine went in, and they saw quite a number of good bulls, but nothing that they warranted to pull the trigger on.
Well done.
Yeah, I suppose that's got a lot to do with exposure too. We've had this conversation a number of times in different forums, is that if you're able to do that, so you're able to go in a place and see lots of animals, and you're able to repeat that, every season or whatever it is, you start to build that kind of, I suppose, feeling that it doesn't have to be this is not my one and only chance. I mean, I feel for guys who get one, who hunt twice a year, and just go, well, if I don't take anything, that's I skunk this whole year out. But being able to getting there, as you said, getting access to being able to place your name in a ballot, but having a good chance of getting something out of that ballot, So, I mean, like some of those ballot systems you hear about in the States, guys put their name in for 20 years and they draw it and they go, no, that's it, this is your chance. And you can understand why you go, okay, I'm going to shoot something. So that, I think that's really commendable how that system works. So it not only allows for people to participate, but it allows them to participate on an ongoing basis. And I think that's what builds that concept of, I don't have to take something this time. There is a next time. There is a benefit. There is a future in this. It's not this one-off. And the positive thing
I've also seen from it is how the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation and the Department of Conservation, who kind of manage the public land, have kind of come together and been able to come up with a strategy that does seem to be working. You go in there and there is a lot of Wapiti type animals in the head basins in the area. We've still seen a few reds 10 years ago, but there's definitely, with all the aerial culling they have done through the area, they've really been able to help manage the herd, which I think is just incredible to see them all, both teams come together and come up with a plan.
So with the aerial culling, are they targeting red only, or are they targeting
predominantly reds, but they were, I believe, also culling some cows because the female wapiti numbers were getting too high for the area, so they were taking some cows out of the area as well. I see recently they were also using some of the venison. They made it into a bit of a venison patty, which they were selling through Burger Fuel, which is a burger franchise through New Zealand. So it was using the funds from that to also pump more money back into Fuel and Wapiti Foundation and continue to improve the herd.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that shows what happens when you actually embrace a species, and we don't have that in Australia. You don't see anyone embracing, what I mean, potentially Samba, but not to the extent of Wapiti. We don't have that draw system, the ballot system. We don't have, Burger Urge or whatever putting out venison burgers because it's all frowned upon. And I think that's where Australia really needs to change. They really need to embrace that we have this fantastic source of protein and meat out there, and it can be, if it's recognised, it can be really harvested and used to its best. And it's awesome that New Zealand are doing that, but Australia could really learn something from that.
Oh, most definitely. Even if I mean, I love the idea you see in the States where you can donate the meat.
You got the food kitchens, things, and all that.
Literally, you just kind of go, okay, I'm up on the block. I'm going to shoot this red. I'm going to take it to local town. It's going to donate it, and people who could benefit from it are going to get it. I just think that's awesome. Such a good idea. I don't really care about myself. It's in such that being able to butcher it yourself or not getting it. I'm not going. It's not going to be an issue. But if you could give that to someone who's going to actually benefit from that, I think it's just a fantastic idea.
So leaving Wapiti Central, what was next on the species list heading up the island?
Taran Chamois, so that's up on the west coast. So once again, very cool country. Like this trip was actually my first time in the South Island, so I'd been like a North Island hobbit, so it was kind of time to head into the South Island. So over the 6 months, I think we spent about 3.5 months in the South Island in total. So we were into pretty much Taran Chamois country, and just on the west coast there. And the epic country, just stunning, just absolutely stunning. Some of those valleys and that, and punching up into the tops, and just magical.
Yeah, and you managed to get both of those?
I only managed the tar, multiple tar. My mate JB, who was doing the trip with, he managed a tar and chamois as well. My tar, I think the biggest one was about 10.5 inch, and he actually shot a 12 and something inch, so he got a cracker, so he was very happy.
God, you guys must have been on a high about then. You'd seen wops, you'd shot whitetail and banned 12-inch chamois. Oh mate, it was all going well, and we didn't have any work, no commitments, and just living the good life, so it was great. Oh well, wives and kids at that point?
No, none of that, just free reign, just going for it.
That's that is the story. So after Taran Chamois?
Then it was on to reds. By that time, because we started the trip mid to late Jan, so that was down the whitetail and by the rut for the raw, where we wanted to chase reds.
Oh, yeah.
So that was once again down the west coast. We're just constantly moving, trying different spots. I shot quite a reasonable 10, so 5x5 red, and we got quite a few others, and we were actually giving the meat away. So like you were saying before, we were rocking up to the local fuel station and things, and dishing out meat because we had more than we needed. So that was a pretty cool opportunity. Like people just offloading venison to them, and which was well received. And we spent pretty much 3 weeks solid just chasing red deer around the hills. And then from there it was fallow through the greenstone, and what else was after that? Actually, it's been a few years ago now, but then we wanted to get back up into the North Island for April to hit the sika. We're big sika hunters, so we spent about a month chasing sika in the Kaimanawas and Kawekas up in the North Island.
Unreal.
So that's Japanese
Correct,
Sika.
yeah. They're amazing,
So I've hunted-
amazing and elusive deer to hunt. They're probably my favourite.
Yeah, I've hunted Japanese Sika in the southwest of
Oh, yes.
England. There's some huge populations. I think, Mark, have you seen Sika down there?
There is. I've seen the herd.
So
I've seen one of the biggest Sika herds. It was so when I was hunting muntjac, down the bottom of the hill was a red farm, and then kind of like 2-3 kilometres over there was another property, and it held one of the biggest Sika herds in England, and we could see it.
yeah, so I hunted on a
We did,
property down there.
it didn't get any, it was a couple of k's away, so it didn't get any real clarity, but you could see they were all down there. and
Yeah,
see
the
it.
property I hunted on, he had, I think, 15,000 acres, and it bordered on a huge military block, and so all the hinds used to sit. Or sorry, he had the hinds on his property, but all the stags used to go into the military block, and where they weren't really shot. And then during the rut, they would all come onto his block to chase the hinds, and he shot numerous gold medals, bronze medals, silver medals every year. That was his draw card. And if we were down there hunting Sika, I was allowed to shoot a cull or I could shoot a hind, but don't you dare pull the trigger on one of those big stags, or you're going to be getting that checkbook out because it's big money.
That's right.
But no, they're such a beautiful animal. They've got such a presence. They sit there and they got their neck puffed out. And I've actually got, if you can see up there, that's a Sika, but that's I think a Manchurian Sika. I think that one is. That's not a Japanese. I've got a Japanese Sika in the other room. That was another. So there's a few different Sika species, which is why I asked the question. But yeah, that's a Manchurian, I think.
I think we actually do have, because it's definitely got a Manchurian Sika in New Zealand, but I'm not sure if it's just all interbred now and how exactly what the original ones they released were. But yeah,
because I think you get the Manchurian, Japanese, and the Pierre Davids, I think it is, or something like that. It's the three that you get in England. The Pierre Davids, I think it's Pierre David, are the really, really big ones. Manchurian are much thicker, and then you got your typical Japanese. I think those are the three that you get.
There's another Pierre.
Is it Pierre St. David or
isn't there?
St. David Pierre or something like that? I don't know which way around it is. I haven't seen Sika in a while, but
there is something.
I love
like that,
Sika,
so,
and they're so good to eat. They are beautiful eating.
yeah.
For a number of years, Sika was pretty much everything that I shot, because I had my friend who was on that 15,000 acre block. So I go down numerous times a year and chasing Sika. And then he had roe deer as well, but then the muntjac came in as well. So, but I love Sika.
Yeah.
Quick pause for 1 sec. Jono, can you stop and restart your video for me?
Yeah, well,
I haven't had video from you or Jason the whole time. I'm just wondering whether it's a restart
Oh wow.
of your video will kick it back into life.
I restarted mine.
And you are black screen. Might be coming. Jace, can you do the same, mate?
How do I do that?
There'll be down the
Yes,
bottom.
there's a cam.
Oh, yeah.
It says cam, just stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little camera.
Otherwise, we'll get the feed and we
it's
can
fine. It's
put
just
it
easier
through.
to talk to your faces than it is to, I've got
Yeah,
Jason
absolutely.
now.
Yeah.
All good. Carry on. That's all right.
Cool.
Where was I? Oh, so I had another question about the New Zealand hunting, and because a lot of what we do with the podcast is around helping other people think about experiences that they can go on or plan for different things. You've obviously gone back and forwards from Australia to New Zealand a lot of times. You've already got the experience over there, so it's easy for you to do it. I've managed a couple of trips back there since being here. I didn't find it a difficult thing to plan. What's some advice you would give to a new, well, not a new hunter, but an Australian hunter that's not experienced New Zealand before? How to go about planning a trip over there, who you might talk to, how you might pick a spot, a species, things like that. What's your general advice to people, Joe?
Well, I suppose first of all, to actually take your firearms license and hunt over in New Zealand, it's not that hard. You have to apply for an international firearms license through the New Zealand Police, which is an online thing that you can complete. There is a bit of a lead time, so I think you do need to allow 4 to 6 weeks before your trip. But it's not actually that hard to actually get your firearm from Australia into New Zealand and get a license that allows you to hunt public land. So that's one aspect of it. When you actually land in New Zealand, you also need, on top of that, a permit from the Department of Conservation to hunt a certain area of public land. But once again, super easy, jump online and you're good to go. So I think they're probably the two biggest hurdles that probably people are not aware of, or how easy it is actually to get across there. And then once you've got those two ticked off the box, there's just so much land to hunt. And that's probably the hardest part, is actually trying to narrow down what you want to hunt, where you want to hunt them. But it's relatively simple to jump online. There's plenty of mapping programs with New Zealand topo maps, as well as I think even the Department of Conservation now has an online kind of mapping system or mapping software. And it's
Lens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lens map.
Yep. And it's just a matter of plotting that up, seeing where the public land boundaries are, and trying to narrow down what species you want to target.
Yeah, right.
I know they used to make a book, a Hunt New Zealand book, so I've got it. You know, it was
Yeah,
like
my
an
mate's
annual.
dad was the one that Dan Erie, my mate's dad, was the one that brought that out, and it was like a Spot X for all the hunting and the hunting and fishing version, and it was quite a good. It was actually really informative kind of breakdown of the different areas and what species of deer or game you would have come across throughout New Zealand, which was definitely very, very worthwhile. So if you can get your hands on a copy of that, it's kind of helps point you in the right direction of where you might want to target for a certain species, but.
Yeah, I literally got it here on the bookshelf somewhere. You know, I got it years ago. You know, I just love this.
Exactly.
It's like a shopping list.
But it's actually just super simple to get over there. It's so much land to hunt. It's just probably just choosing what you want to chase and trying to narrow down an area.
Yeah, and
one question.
You're right.
Sorry, mate. One question I've always had about that is, what about storage? You know, because how do you go around with, travelling and storing?
So part of that, because I just had to do it recently when I went back to New Zealand in April to chase Seeker, they do state on they've updated it slightly since I last did it, and they do actually say, where are you going to store your firearm? If you've got a hotel booked, just put long as it's in a locked, secure room for your night, whatever. Well, that's going to be fine. If you have any problems, give the New Zealand Police a call. They're honestly super handy or helpful. The firearms division, give them a call, kind of explain your situation, and they'll be more than willing to help out. I had a couple issues or a couple questions I wanted to run past them, and just got on the phone and had a chat to them, and they were just helped me out and made it quite enjoyable, which was surprising.
Yeah, they are good. My last trip over there, the rules had just changed, and they didn't quite have a handle on some of the finer points of the detail. The issue we struck was we were landing in Christchurch, we were jumping in a hire car, we were going straight to a helipad, and we were flying straight to the mountains. So where was my address? Yeah. I said, such and such a valley up in Hanma Springs somewhere, and they're like, okay, you've actually got to have a sponsored New Zealand license holder. Like we had to list an address where our firearms would be stored, and that address had to have a licensed firearms holder on it.
Okay.
I don't know if that's changed again. If you were recently over there, you may not have had to do that. So we had to pretty quickly jump on the phone to an uncle and say, hey, we're doing this. And he was like, yep, no worries. And they were happy with that, even though they knew that we weren't in the end going to be staying there because we were going up the hills, but to satisfy the paperwork, that's what needed to be done. On a different trip, we enlisted a guide, a safety backstop guide, basically, who came up with us, and we put his residence down as our listed firearms holder sponsor, if you like. So was that not a thing for you on this recent trip?
Well, it was actually, but I always put my parents' place down with Dad, being a firearms holder. But I don't know what you do in that situation. But like I say, just give the firearms team a call and explain the situation and see if there's any way to, what they recommend to get around that issue if you don't know anyone over in New Zealand.
Yeah. Did you predominantly stay camping style, or did you utilise the huts?
A bit of both. So definitely a lot of fly camping, a little backpack hunting, but would use the huts, to try and base our trips around, especially with the weather. As you know, in New Zealand, it can change pretty quickly, and especially down the Southern Alps there. You want to have, that's probably another thing for anyone that's thinking about heading over to New Zealand. It's definitely very unpredictable, so go prepared. Have your gear, have good gear, and be ready to really tough it out. So we definitely used both the huts, which are an amazing resource out in the backcountry there, but then a lot of just fly camping with the tent as well.
Excellent. And it's a great hut system, isn't it? For those that don't understand it, do you want to give that a bit of a description?
Definitely. So there's right through the public land throughout New Zealand, the Department of Conservation manage public huts. So pretty much it's just a hut network that were pretty much old deer culling huts back from the 1970s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So there's some amazing huts that are dotted right through the bush. There is like a nightly fee that you pay, which is relatively affordable. But some of the huts and the character and the locations are just pretty bloody magical.
Some history in there, right?
Oh, there is. They're just, you read some of the old timers books, and the huts are still there that you can go and visit. And they talk about the valleys they're hunting, and then you're hunting the same valley and staying in the same hut that a lot of these old guys and old timers were, shooting hundreds of deer out of these valleys, and you're there and amongst it. So yeah, it's they're definitely very cool. Even just for the hut aspect, I enjoy just checking out the huts, traveling around, and just checking out the huts around the country.
Mm. Do you have to pre-book them, or can you just rock up into a hut and then post-pay?
So the majority of huts we're staying at are the really kind of remote ones. Anything around the Great Walks, etc., you got to book. But we were trying to push out. We tried to be more remote.
You're not hunting there.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So you didn't have to book those ones. You just rock up first in, best dressed kind of thing, and pull up a bunk, and it was very good.
Yeah, my experience.
And did you ever? Was there ever other people there?
Definitely. Like you often run into trampers, hunters, but you kind of have to be prepared as well. So if you can't just bank yourself, you're definitely going to have a hut available or a bed available in the hut. But like I said, the majority of the ones we were trying to push to were a little bit more remote. But didn't mean you weren't going to run into other people. They are well used, and which is good to see people out there enjoying them and using them.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been a moment that went past that you were wandering those tracks on your way to a hunt, wondering whether the Swedish backpackers,
exactly,
girls tour of New Zealand had rocked up just the night before.
Yeah, always a dream, but never the reality.
Yeah. Those Swedish girls just waiting for a guy to run out in 4 months to turn up.
Exactly. It wasn't pretty.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, he's finally here. Man of my dreams.
In my experience, John, to answer your question in a different way, is the huts were you paid for a night's usage of a hut. It's like a token-based thing. If they used it in one hut or another hut, didn't matter. You didn't have to really list it, but you only had to give way to the department staff. So if they rocked up in the middle of the night and demanded a bed, then you were supposed to give way to them because they were their huts first. But we certainly hunkered down from stalls and like 3-man bivvies with 10 people. Everyone just sort of waiting it out. But still, it's all pretty good up there.
It's just awesome that it's there and available. That's just, amazing.
Yeah, they're definitely a great asset to the country, and they're like I say, there's just some of the spots that you get to, and there's a beautiful hut overlooking a valley. It's just, it's so good.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the benefit of flying in with a helicopter, all of your materials. You just got to go up there on the hill somewhere and build a hut, fellas, and they get to choose the best vista because there's nothing else up there, right? So,
exactly.
Whole position. Yeah, pretty good. So moving out of New Zealand and into Australia, obviously a lot of your recent work on Liquid Antler has been around starting to explore state forest hunting in New South Wales. You've got a lot of other stuff up there as well, but it's a fairly new venture for you guys, isn't it, to start taking on state forests?
Yeah, definitely. I think I got my R licence just over a year ago, so decided to start venturing down to New South Wales. I think I've done 4 state forests so far, with not a lot of luck, to be honest. I am building my knowledge and understanding of the state forests around, relatively close to Brisbane, and then kind of pushing south. I think my last trip I did was to Styx State Forest, which we talked about briefly on the podcast last time, and spent 4 days just exploring that just magical spot. That was actually a beautiful state forest, and it was a stunning place. So, and I'm actually booked in for 3 days next week to head to Butterleaf. So I'm going to go check out Butterleaf, which have a look see and see what I can find there.
We might share some spots with you off air. Mm-hmm. There's certainly deer down there.
Butterleaf, there is. It's tough hunting though. It's and it's one of those forests that the further you go in, the thicker it gets. It can be a bit deceiving up the front. It's reasonable up the front, and it just gets worse and worse as you push into the back, and then it hits the national. There's a pretty, if I remember correctly, there's a pretty porous boundary around there for the national park. You don't know you can, it's one of those, you would only know it via GPS. There's no real indicator that you're pushing in a national park. Yeah, so Sticks looks really great, but it looks better fishing than anything else.
Once again, it's pretty thick and steep country. They have had the fires through, so some of the regrowth in the areas is pretty gnarly. But there were some more open, more recent fires, which was still the fresh growth was coming through. I think there's definitely potential for deer in there, but big park, pretty steep. You're going to have to definitely spend your time nutting out where the deer are. And I was only there for 4 days. It's more just about covering country and getting a feel for it. But you'd have to put a fair bit of time, I believe, just to really dial in on where those deer are, because I don't think there'd be too many in there from what I've heard.
Look, goat country.
Yeah, look.
Yeah. Yep, I don't. I had a look on the harvest report, and there weren't many goats or deer recorded on the harvest report. Doesn't mean they've not been shot, but there wasn't anything too exciting on the harvest return for the area. But I was still keen just to check it out. It looked like a beautiful spot, and it was.
Yeah, look, it's funny that eastern side of the New England is tough hunting, mostly down to Sticks. Then, of course, technically Nundle's part of that side too, but that's very different. But certainly on that higher side, that it's just that hinterland country, and it's very, very, there's a thing called Waterfall Way, for instance. You travel along, it's gorge country all the way along, and there's joy flights out of Armidale where they go through the gorge country, and that's exactly where they go through. So it is very, very tough country, and it does hold deer. It's just that they're really hard to find.
But as but probably try and get some. You have to try and get some trail cameras up and just really try and work out what's going on there. And there's, like I said, it's super gnarly on one side. You pretty much just drop straight off. The side I was predominantly hunting, there was definitely some beautiful area. Just wasn't seeing the sign. Just trying to cover as much country as I could. But a couple of feral cats, which I saw, but didn't get the opportunity to shoot those. So it was just too quick. But yeah, just some of the camping spots there, though, were just magical. Just right by the Styx River there, flowing through, and very nice.
Yeah, I've seen that video where you're along that campground there, or where you camp up along the river there. That's some very picturesque country you found there for a campsite. It's definitely nice. Sure.
No, it was just I did take my rod, but then once I got there, the signs, I was just after the long weekend, and from my understanding, from what the signs were saying, that the season had closed. So I didn't get a chance to have a fish, but definitely be worthwhile. I could see plenty of trout in there, so it'd be definitely a good spot to hit when the season's open. Yeah.
Oh, did you see the trout? Did you?
Oh, nice.
Again, I've heard very good reports of trout in there, but I haven't had a chance to get the sticks myself.
I definitely recommend the spot, even just for a great camping and time to get away with the family, whatever. It's a beautiful spot for it.
So what other forests have you looked at then, other than Sticks?
Barook, Boonoo, and that's probably I've only done the 3, so this will be my 4th this time, checking out Butterleaf. Tried to get myself into Severn. As we all know, it's super busy at the moment.
It's impossible.
Sorry about that.
Man, I wish we had shares.
I jumped on there this week.
We did that badly, We did that really badly. We should have said, if you want to get a Severn, just drop us, $2, $1.99 per time. We'd be millionaires. Yeah, it seems like that. It's now become the place.
Yeah, I jumped on there this week actually, thinking, I'll take the family down for a quick weekend. We just bought a camper trailer, and I was going to give it a test out. And I thought I'll take the family to Severn. We'll give the camper trailer a test. I can do a quick hunt. No, you can't get in. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Well, you can still go. You can still go down there and camp at what's the name?
The Weir.
Severn. What do they call it?
Yeah, but I can't go hunting.
You can drive through it. You can drive through it.
You haven't had enough hunting in the last fortnight, John?
I thought if I could take the family and get a hunt in, that would work out well. Give the camper a quick test out before we go to Fraser.
My
But
wife would see
not gonna happen.
straight through that. You're just going to go hunting. I know what's going on here.
You see, take the family with, and then I can get away with it.
Yeah. Well, we're going on a family road trip, and we just happen to be going past Pilliga.
Well planned.
That's just the way it is. I can't help it where Dubbo is. I can't help where Dubbo is. It's just
Put Pilliga in the summer on your list.
Worth a look, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, Pilliga. Hell yeah. Go on, Mark, tell them all about it.
Beautiful.
Pilliga is the complete opposite. It's huge, and it's mostly flat, and it's very, very dry, and it's kind of like, it's in a way, it's MT like in that.
Kept referring back to this is so much like Pilliga.
Yeah. And if you've got to travel a long way to do anything. You've got to be completely self-sufficient. There isn't, like once you're in the forest, it's 2 hours to go get a glass of milk if you need any supplies. So you've got to do everything yourself. There's no water in there. Well, there is water in there, but you don't want to drink that water. So you've got to be very much a self-sufficient operation. But then again, if you're comfortable with that, you have this fantastic time where you're just kind of by yourself. And away you go, and you set up your camp, and you might not see anyone. You might hear cars going through the night because the forest way is technically a road that connects the other side of the forest. There's a few little tiny villages along there, and there's beekeepers in there. You hear their trucks moving around at night, but generally you're by yourself, and it's like they said here, have 200,000 acres to play in, and away you go. And that's what it's like. It's just do what you want type thing, obviously within reason. But yeah, you're just going to explore, and you can not look at the same ground twice. And goats and pigs.
Yeah, well, I'm slowly just working my way through the state forest, and a lot of times because I work in the mining industry, I would do 11 days on, 10 days off. So it gives me the opportunity just to just to push and check some of these areas out. So I definitely do Nundle, that's on the list. I'll do Butterleaf this one, and just kind of keep checking them out. And for me, it's just about getting out there and kind of I'm actually at the moment just enjoying the videography side as just as much as the hunting. So I'm trying to get that balance of still committing to the hunting, but when you spend a lot of the time trying to get the shots and things and just explore the area, it's unfortunately I'm probably not I'm not hunting as hard as I should, because the videography side and the video storytelling is kind of starting to take over a little bit more. So, but which is fine with me. Like I'm happy with that as well, which I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you mean. I was thinking about it when we last week up in the territory. I'm surprised how long I held the camera for. I had it literally for days. I was going, where's the camera? Oh, there's a rifle type thing. So I just carry that camera everywhere. And you get like that, you're thinking, no. And when you're hunting with someone, you kind of go, don't shoot it.
Yeah, well, I got my hunts by myself, so I'm the one trying to set the camera up, get the shot, and then still trying to hunt, and then there's something over there, and another camera needs to be here, and but I enjoy it. It's rewarding when you come home and you put a bit of a video together. It tells hopefully quite a good story of what I encountered, what I experienced, and but yeah, just definitely trying to get that balance right of the hunting, the video inside. I think the hunting's starting to drop away. I'm putting a bit too much time into the video, but I'm enjoying.
Yeah, I've found a newfound respect for people who can do very good self hunts and actually show the hunt itself, because the setting, just doing that's just so hard. I mean, it's hard when you're with someone else, but when you're doing it by yourself,
because you think in your head, you're trying to think through what shots you need to actually take. When you get back to edit it, but then at the same time, you're thinking, okay, what's going on? Where's the game, and where's the sign, and trying to put the two together.
Yeah. So how do we get to Liquid Antler? What's behind Liquid Antler?
Well, I started Liquid Antler because I enjoyed my spearfishing, fishing, and then I kind of enjoyed my hunting. So it's just a bit of a combination at the time I came up with. Of two kind of passions. And I first put some videos together from that 6-month bush trip all those years ago that kind of went up onto YouTube, and then I kind of moved to Canada for a while and bits and pieces, and they kind of just fell away on the wayside. And then got right back into the hunting, and then started, filming again, and continued to start growing the YouTube and just, filming and documenting my hunts and kind of things I enjoy doing, like camping, hunting, bit of forward driving, and yeah.
So the fishing is the liquid part of Liquid Antler. There we go. I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, so it's the fishing spearing side. I love the ocean and love the bush, and it's just a combination. And like for some reason, I just came up with Liquid Antler, and it's just rolled with that since then.
No.
Yeah, so I don't
spearfishing
do as much as I used to, but the hunting's taken over a bit at the moment. But definitely enjoy the spearfishing side of things. It's pretty much just hunting underwater, and it's great.
Pretty much.
Well, yeah, I spearfished a lot when I was younger, especially around the Tweed. It's certainly, it's a different experience again than line rod and reel fishing. It's it's completely different. That immersion, I think that's what it is, isn't it? You're not.
You know exactly what's going on. You know if there's fish there, you can see them, or you can't see them. So you're in, you're looking. It's no good. You're moving on. You're not line fishing, just waiting for hours for hopefully something to come through. It's you immerse you in it, and it's another world down there, which is I love.
Like as I said,
I was just going to say with your hunting side. You've obviously had to replace all your gear when you came over here, or have you left some in New Zealand so you've got it when you go, or do you bring everything over with you?
No, I've pretty much got 2 sets of gear. So I've got my gear over here for the hunting kind of conditions, then got my gear back in New Zealand ready to go. So I can jump between quite easily, and hopefully over the next few years I'll definitely try and increase my trips back to New Zealand at least 2-3 times a year if I can to get back and catch up with family as well as a lot of hunting.
Yeah. What about rifles? Have you got 2 sets of stuff?
Yeah.
Rifles?
Yeah.
So did you mirror the rifles?
No.
Or did you end up with something different for Australian conditions compared to New Zealand?
So Sarko, my go-to over New Zealand is just a Sarko 75 and 308 suppressed, which I just actually recently got suppressed. So in New Zealand you legally can have suppressors, just for anyone that's listening and not aware. And then in Australia, at the moment, I'm just running a Howe 1500 and 6.5 Creedmoor. With a Sig Sauer scope on it, and I have had a Tika T3 and 3006 as well, just in the stainless synthetic, and I'm loving the 6.5 Creedmoor at the moment. That's what I'm predominantly shooting, a lot of the deer and animals with, and I'm really enjoying that caliber.
Yeah, I've got anything to say about that.
Waiting for it. Come on.
Nah.
308's a good choice.
Yeah. Come on, guys! Come on! Let rip.
It's scales, The fact that he shoots a 75 kind of buys him a lot of credit, He may have dipped into his account when he went at Creedmoor, but the 75 probably outweighs the Creedmoor, and so that's. I think the 75s are fantastic.
Yeah, I love that rifle.
I think you bought yourself some.
I balanced it out tonight.
No, I think actually probably not balanced. You're probably still in. Probably still in credit. I think the quality of a 75 for an hour.
And it's a 308 as well. So there we go. That's pushing you up.
The Creedmoor's got is it a BDX combo that you've got on with the SIG?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Now you're talking. Some real stuff. It's my second favourite scope now. It used to be my favourite. I've got a new favourite.
It's been swapped. Just been changed now.
The Howe 1500 though, I'm amazed. I'm loving it, to be honest. I was a little bit sceptical when I did purchase it. Cheap kind of, but so far I'm. Yeah, loving it. Shoots beautifully. I'm comfortable, confident with it, and with that SIG on top, it's I'm loving it.
So that's what you've got,
that factory in Japan makes some good rifles, and they come out with all different brands and all sorts of things. But basically, they're incredibly well made rifle out of it. How are they? I think that the same place makes some of the Weatherbees. They certainly over the time they made Browning, they made stuff for Remington. I think they're even. I might stand corrected, but I think the old CMC Mountaineer, which was an Australian rifle, was basically the same thing. All come out of that very good factory there where they make Howe. Yeah. Never own
Come on,
myself,
treat
but,
yourself.
you know. No.
So something that's come up quite a lot recently is packs. We were pretty detailed into packs with our trip that we've just been on, and we've got a lot of people that in and around us are heading down to Samba in the next couple of weeks. A lot of newish hunters that are looking at what they pack, what longer range pack. If you've got a brand that you've favoured over time, you may have been through 3 or 4 of them. What's your recommended pack for those multi-days and also the day hunts, especially here?
Okay, this is probably a 15-year-old pack now. It's a MacPack Torre, Torre, which is the 85 litre, which was like a single compartment canvas MacPack pack they did, and it is indestructible. It is the quality, the canvas. It is. I've put that through all conditions, and it is still going strong. So that's my pretty much go-to pack back in New Zealand. Over here in Australia, I am using I think it's the Tatonka 75 litre Bison, I believe.
A good pack.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
It's big.
Yep, it is. I've also have the 55 as well. So I've got both.
So that's for all your camera gear. What do you use for your overnighters?
Yeah,
That's your day pack.
I run, if I'm just doing a day hunt, I'm running the Tatonka 55. Otherwise, I'm running the Tatonka 75 for any backpack hunts or overnighters. But I can't go past that MacPack. If you can get your hands on an old MacPack, the Cascade or the Torre.
Got one.
The Cascade, I think, was the 75 litre. The Torre is the 85 litre, and just great, just bulletproof. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got a 20-year-old
Okay.
one. I think it's the Ascent. It's a climbing pack basically. So it's just it's a single bag, quite narrow pack. Yeah, it's about 20 years old now, and it's a MacPack.
Yep.
Still made.
Yeah,
in
my
New
one back in
Zealand.
New Zealand is just great. Loaded up to antlers hanging off and loaded up and just keeps on going. The frame, the harness, super reliable. And yeah, I really rate those if you can get your hands. I don't know about the newer models. I don't know exactly the quality of those compared to the older ones, but that'd be my big recommendation if you can find one.
And in that size, the 85.
Didn't MacPack become?
I was going to say,
sorry?
and from a size perspective,
Sorry.
85 would be your go-to for those multi-day?
So when we're doing those extended trips, like if I'm doing over a 2-week trip, then I'd run that, plus I'd run a day pack on the outside, because we're pretty loaded with gear and food. I think we did our longest trip on the 6-month trip was 3 weeks, and that was doing kind of stashes of food as we went, so we'd have food on the way back out, and we were running the 85 litres with like a 25 litre strapped onto the back, so it's like a turtle shell pretty much that you're waddling around with.
It's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Didn't MacPack become that One Planet or something? Was that some connection between MacPack and something? There was a brand out for a while called One Planet. I think it might still be out. I thought that was something to do with MacPack when they sold out.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MacPack's obviously still going, but not sure about if there's any other products.
Yeah, but I think they've gone through a couple of iterations.
And then tell us about boots. You've had enough experience across both countries now. What sort of boots are you running?
So I was just until recently. I was running the lower ranges. Great boot. I had those for years. Before that, I was running. I think it was another pair of lowers. And I've got a pair of lowers back in New Zealand. I actually just recently got some cheaper Grizz Sport leather boots over here for around Queensland and New South Wales, and they were just some cheaper options, and they've been great so far. But for a quality boot, but you pay the price, then I really rate the lowers. Yeah.
Rangers are a pretty big boot for Queensland conditions.
They are, and that's why I've just gone for these Grizz Sport. They're a bit of a lighter boot, and I think I was a little bit over the top running the lowers around the hills of southeast Queensland.
Yeah, no, it's
Well, you weren't gonna find yourself in any trouble with those. That's for sure.
And those lowers, you can wear them all day, like constantly, like 5, 6, 7 days in a row, no dramas. They're just super comfy for my foot anyway. From the day one, put them on. I don't have any issues with them at all. So which you need on those extended trips.
With, obviously with your experience, I mean, the 6 month road trip hunting you would have, if it didn't work, you would have known pretty quickly. And post that. So big part of, as you know, what we do is to help people get started. So if someone were to ask you, what should I look for to get started? What would be some of the items, obviously other than things like rifles and stuff like that? What were some of the things you'd be advising someone to think about purchasing as part of a hunting kit, especially if they were hunting public land, so they might not have access to a private land? They're going to hunt public land.
For me, I do a lot of hunts for myself, so I'm a solo hunter a lot of the time. So I've always got an EPIRB in my bag. So for me, that's just cheap insurance.
Yep.
I have that in my pack all the time with a basic first aid kit, kind of survival kit. So that is number one. If you're hunting, even if you're hunting with a group or whatever, it's always good to have that shit bag if you need it. Pull it out and you've got everything you need. So definitely be prepared. But apart from that, with the state forest hunting in New South Wales and then what I've encountered, the conditions are not too bad. So a reasonable pair of boots, but like I say, I'm just running a cheaper pair at the moment and they're doing fine. A reasonably comfy pack, but unless you're getting extended overnight period of trips or things, a lot of the New South Wales hunting that I've done so far, because of the size of the areas I'm hunting, I'm pretty much basing myself out of a ute, moving to an area, day hunting it, coming back. So the New South Wales side of things, reasonable boots, reasonable bag, but I think the biggest one for me is just the safety gear, the survival kit, or that EPIRB. I think they're about $220, and get an EPIRB, get it in your pack, and you just never know when you may need it. I run my phone for my mapping, so I don't even run. I used to run a GPS. I don't run a GPS anymore. I've got a compass, and I have a map of the area. So even if it's a small park, I still just, from my time hunting in New Zealand, I always have a paper map, a compass, and my phone. A decent headlamp. That's probably one of my big things I do spend a fair bit of money on. So I've got a pretty decent LED lens, a headlamp. If you do get yourself in a sticky situation, it is nice if you want to be able to walk out, get that light going, and just light up the area. So a decent quality headlamp that's going to last, I think, is also a valuable bit of kit for the public land hunting.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. I've got a LED lens myself. I tend to call them LED lenses. Maybe I've got it wrong, but I've got one of those. And last week we could have used it because we came back. We did a big walk up, and we came back. Well, it was funny. We did a bigger walk than we expected, or that Ian and I expected anyway. So we got back to the track and went, okay, the car's a couple of k's away, and we started walking. And it was just on dusk, and we started walking, and we were walking for maybe a k, and then we went, oh, okay, we're at the start now. So we actually had gone past our start point. So then we had to, okay, now we've got to walk to the car from where we know. So we were walking, and it was, what was really interesting was we were on a boundary line with a wetlands that was over 1 kilometre long, and that we'd been watching monster pigs in from early that day. And there's a point where it gets pretty close, and there was a point.
Re-emphasise the word monster for me, because you didn't do it enough justice.
So this pig was this big. I was standing on a hill about 1 kilometre away, and I went, oh, it's buffalo next door. And then I got the binoculars and went, oh, it's not buffalo, it's a pig. So you could clearly see this pig with a K.
Yes, big pig.
With your naked eye. So that's how big it was. And he wasn't by himself either. His little brothers were around him, but they were no slouches. So we're walking along, and it kind of like the boundary line starts to converge with the swamp, and there was this one part. There was just something in there, and I'm pretty sure
you could hear it. You could hear the noise that your foot makes when you pull it out of mud. You could hear this.
Yeah,
we're like, oh, shit, what's going on there?
And we're all just standing there, just going. We wanted to see them up to that point. We said, I'm not sure if I'm that keen to see one now. At my phone torchlight.
Yeah, we were talking about it along that
Yeah,
walk
so-
that from time to time someone would stick a rifle up and see if the scope was still in use.
Yeah.
And it came a point where I think it was Matt that said, "Well, I can't aim at anything, but I can shoot in the general direction and scare off anything that's coming our way because there were some big creatures in that swamp
Yeah.
next to us." Mm.
Yeah, it was quite amazing. Yeah, so having that, and you're right, having that headlamp with you all the time as part of the kit is just, you never know when you're going to be out there past dark. It's a good bit of
Yeah,
info.
I know
would've
you've
been
got
good.
it as well, hey, Ian?
Yeah, it would have been good if I'd learned from that experience because the very next day off we went and I went, oh, here we go again, I forgot the torch. And it wasn't until we had an animal on the ground and we were really busting ass to get it sorted out and in packs and on packs and around packs, and then we had to march our way out of however far it was. And I was like, John, did you bring your head torch? He goes, no, I didn't either. Oh, crap, we're going to be doing this in the dark, wandering through the wilderness with crocodiles and bloody buffalo and shit everywhere. And it wasn't until I got back I realised it was just in the top of my pack.
Oh, no.
I had,
No, I didn't make that mistake again when I came out with
Yeah,
Brian.
I
I had it with me. I didn't need it, but I made sure we had it with me. And I hurried him up. I said, "Man, we want to get out here out of dark," because we had a 3K walk with this buffalo skull cap, and just moved as quick as I can. But yeah, I made sure
I managed to get up in the Northern Territory. I think maybe 10 years ago now. We spent 2 weeks up there hunting, and yeah, I'm very jealous of you boys just having a recent trip because it's a magical spot up there. It's catching barra, shooting pigs. Great
Yeah.
spot.
We tried for barra, we weren't lucky on them, but
Yeah.
we got pigs, we got buff, we got donkeys, so we can't complain.
Oh yeah,
got
definitely.
slippery cod and
Sleepy cod.
Yeah.
sleepy cod, was it? Not slippery?
Sleepy cod.
What are the other things that... yeah.
Cherubin.
It was tasty.
Cherubin.
It was tasty
Yeah,
cod is what
Cherubin.
it was.
Oh,
It was tasty cod, that's for sure.
But, no, that's good. Oh, I had this... forgotten now. Sorry, somebody else. I forgot my question.
Oh, okay. No problem. Yeah, so we didn't get a barra, but then again, we probably didn't try.
No, we
it.
tried.
Barra time was shooting time.
We were preoccupied.
yeah.
That's right. So yeah, though we did remarkably, we found one in basically nothing much more than a puddle. On something up here in the Brisbane Valley, we'd kind of go, "Oh, that's just something the cows water in." Just on the side of it was this
Big barra as well.
barra, and it was at least a 600 mil plus barra just there in the dirt. And you went, how the hell did that come out of that
with the
puddle?
wet, they get the big wets through there and it pumps the water through
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they make their way and the next thing it drops and like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I can't know where to go. And
And I'm
Yeah.
sure pretty
Well,
sure
it
that's
must have
what
been. I mean,
happened.
we were
You know,
standing and looking at the
was-
trees, and the debris in the trees was above Ian's head. It was crazy. It was, and that was above
Yeah.
the creek line.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the amount of water that comes through there in the wet season. It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
So we found the barra, and we there was a couple. Jono saw
We saw salty.
Yep.
We saw lots of freshwater crocs, but he saw a salty. So yeah, so they were about to, and we were camped at this lovely place called Goose Lagoon.
Water views from the...
That was water views, very shady, lovely, overhanging trees, all that stuff. And the general advice is look at it, but don't go anywhere near it type of thing. And came back off the water line.
Except
So,
Ian set up his tent literally next to the water,
That's right. And
then got told you might want to
Matt
move that.
Yeah.
Well, Matt didn't tell him, but Matt just told him the story about, once when he was in the situation and what happened. So
People moved the
okay.
tent. That's fair enough.
I see the lesson in that. Let's move it. So yeah,
I can learn. Listening to all of the different animals that you've hunted, New Zealand and Australia, you must be getting somewhere close to a slam.
no,
Is there a plan there?
no real interest in that. I've definitely hunted a fair few species. I've taken taken animals out of a lot of the species, but not something I'm chasing or after or that interested in, to be honest. I love probably the big thing for me is just getting out and exploring new areas, more than the actual chasing a certain species of deer. It's more I like to see an area that I want to try and explore and hunt, include the hunt in that aspect of it. But yeah, there's no aspect on the actual big slam.
Is there a dream species? Dream species you'd really like to get?
It'd probably be, well, if I could have a choice, 50-inch wapiti down in Fiordland.
Cool.
You know what you want and you know where it is. Yeah. Well, that's an achievable goal.
Yeah, just keep putting the ballot in every year and have that opportunity, and that'd probably be my dream.
Bit hard when you draw a ballot and give it away, though.
Well, at least the border. Hopefully, the borders now won't play any silly buggers, and we can get back there.
Yeah.
You'll need a decent wall space.
Yeah, I know.
That ballot's opening pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they finish up by the end of October. It closes and it gets drawn early next. Oh, actually, it gets drawn this year as well. So yeah, it won't be too far off.
Yeah, we need to get an application in, mate.
Got to get on the running machine.
Big country.
Woo! Yeah. Honestly, to me, if you want to train for Fiordland, turn your shower on. Try and set your tent up in it, and then climb the wall. If you can manage that, you'll be right.
It sounds pretty accurate.
Oh, there you go. So one thing you haven't spoke about when you're in New Zealand, and is hunting pigs. Now, I'm always quite intrigued about it. It seems to be that there's a kind of class distinction in New Zealand when it comes to pigs.
So. Yeah.
You either hunt them with dogs or you don't hunt them at all.
Mates over there have got dogs and they're hunting every weekend with them. For me, I've stuck pigs and done a fair bit of pig hunting. I've also shot pigs just with the rifle while out deer stalking. But unfortunately, deer is where my big interest is. But definitely not going to turn down a pig if I come across it. But yeah, deer is definitely the one that I enjoy.
Cool.
Well, if we spotted some pigs, and if Ian had gone for those pigs, we wouldn't have got a buff, would we have, Ian? So,
very true. I passed up on a pig for Jono, but it just didn't happen. No, and I still wish I shot that. You
should have.
Pigs are just getting in the way at the wrong time sometimes, but that's all right. People are allowed to love them. But it's a different thing though. I mean, you've been around it and New Zealand a lot more than I had, but it wasn't so much of an issue eating the pork over there. They weren't really surviving on carrion. They were eating roots and grubs and bits and pieces in the ground.
Yeah, definitely over New Zealand, pigs are good to go, and you don't turn down a wild pig if you shoot it over there. It's definitely coming home and it's going to be cooked up and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
After those pigs in the territory, you've got to be a bit careful.
Mrs. Hogzilla, she's good for some bacon, I reckon.
She'd be probably eating her own kids. That thing, a monster. There was a reason why you couldn't find the board. She ate it.
The Black Widow spider.
Man, that pig had girth. That was like, there's a Weight Watchers pig if I ever seen one.
Yeah. All right. So Wapiti's your dream hunt. You've got no other aspirations to head further afield. Are you an Africa or an Alaska guy? Usually people are in one camp other than the other.
No, to be honest, I worked up in Canada, up in the Yukon for 2 years, and I had no real inkling to hunt up there. Surprisingly, you see grizzlies, black bear, caribou. Moose kind of on, because I'm a geologist by trade, so I was out exploring up in the Yukon, all helicopter based kind of work, and for some reason I just never, just didn't tickle my fancy, and there's no real aspirations for that in Africa. For me personally, the same thing, potentially maybe more Africa over Alaska or Canada, but I'm quite happy with New Zealand, to be honest. Or in Australia, I'm definitely keen to get down to Victoria, chase the sambar around, and there's still plenty of places in New Zealand I want to explore down the Southern Alps and shoot a big red, shoot a wapiti or shoot a sika. I'm more than happy to spend my time and money and kind of interest in that than pushing further afield. Saying that, I wouldn't want another trip up to Northern Territory. I wasn't successful in shooting a buff all those years ago, and that's probably higher on my list than say over in Alaska or Africa. But yeah, still plenty of country back in New Zealand to cover.
Mm.
Yeah, it's funny that kind of, what camp or if no camp. I'm kind of the no camp kind of. I think I've got lots more to do here. But I mean, certainly, that's something, because I mean, this time of year, a lot of people are either heading to Africa or they've just come back. So it's that, I suppose it's the season for that. So yeah, it's interesting that, the way you process that thing. Do you want to chase them, or do you want to chase more?
And for me,
close
just
to
thinking
home?
about that now, for me, what I'd love to do is jump on the plane down to Melbourne and spend 10 days chasing sambar in the Vic High Country. Like that, to me, with a backpack by myself or with a mate, is a lot more appealing to me personally than jumping on a flight, be guided over wherever, paying pretty big money to do it. And for me personally, it's just not my thing. I'd rather be on public land, push myself in a backpack hunt. That's for me personally.
Good on you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
totally
think
agree.
I've come to appreciate the opportunities that the Pacific's got. And that's not just Australia and New Zealand, but there's some other opportunities around us. Australia's just got so much to offer. It's interesting. We look back to New Zealand for the great free range deer and the opportunities down there to be able to hunt public land, and the old Kiwis have got the eyes on this side of the ditch just as much with what we've been talking about with donkeys and buffalo and some of the large game stuff that they don't have access to over there. So between the two countries, it's a pretty special opportunity, I think.
Oh yeah, we're super lucky, and with the amount of public hunting in both countries, there's more than enough for me to kind of explore and kind of to enjoy. So I'll just keep ticking off areas and checking out new spots.
Yeah, look, I think again, I totally agree. You ran up the coastline of New Zealand. You could do the same here. You could run down Queensland and New South Wales and the Victoria, and you'd spend a lot of time. You could spend a lot of time, hunting animals and seeing new country and challenging yourself all the way through. We did a 10-day road trip hunt in New South Wales back in 2018, and we could have kept going. We ran out of time, but we hardly touched anything, we had lots of success, but there was so much more we could have done. I didn't even get close to the Vic border, no real lower than Tamworth. So I didn't get any close to the Vic, to 8 hours away from the Vic border. So and
exactly,
then
definitely. It's, I did live down in Melbourne for a while, and I did hunt the Vic High Country a little bit, but wasn't hunting as hard as I am and now, and I'm definitely feeling that itch to get back down there and have another chase of the sambar.
Yep, and then there's of course the bird life. One of the good things that we through our last trip up there to Territory was an offer to come up and shoot magpie geese. So shoot those. We saw plenty of them. Big birds. So and they've got a very good season up there. I think it's an all steel shot season. So it's well regulated and the bags are pretty tight, but it's also very, very enjoyable. And talking from the guys, to get onto geese is not hard at all. It's not I think he was saying it's 15, 20 minutes from his home there in Darwin. So you could literally go up for a weekend and shoot magpie geese and come
the
back
guys
through.
were saying they do it before work. They do a morning hunt, go to work, and then finish work, go for a hunt, and then go home and have dinner with the family. So it's so accessible.
Yeah. No, so it's
Just
monster
4.5
magpie
hour
geese.
flight away. Piece of cake.
Easy.
Piece of cake. Well, we know that, and from the tip that we learnt from travelling to Northern Territory, is that tell them you have firearms. You're a security risk.
Go on, keep it moving.
Get out of my airport.
That's it. Keep moving. Get him out of here. Come on, move him through.
Or-
Check him
Or
out.
get
That's it.
served
That's
by
it.
someone who doesn't know what they're doing and they let you wander around aimlessly with firearms. It's great.
Yeah, we did that too as well. But either way, it was move quickly.
And I've got to
You're a
ask,
security risk.
how was the
So that was
new
it.
Beretta?
Oh, dude. I don't want to get too much into it yet, but the Beretta itself was great. It did everything it needed to do. I never had a jam. I never had an issue. It's full of dust and shit and crap from not really being treated, as well as it could have been. Not that I mistreated it, but, got back to camp and it leaned up against a tree. It didn't go back in the box. It didn't get a cover whip put on it. It spent a bit of time on my pack getting donked around by branches and bits and pieces as we were walking through things. But when it needed to operate, it operated quickly and it was efficient and it was accurate. I think the thing that made the BRX package perfect was the aim point.
Oh, yep.
We put the H2 aim point on top of it. So it wasn't just a fast action, it was fast acquiring, and it just made everything so much quicker. There's a couple of bits of video of rounds being let loose.
Yeah, nice.
And it was a pleasure to use. It really was.
Oh, and then with that stock ammunition as well, it was just an ultimate package. It was brilliant. It dropped everything. Yeah. So anything you could throw at it.
Nice.
And the really, really exciting thing is I was talking today is the 9.3.
Yeah, because it's interchangeable barrels.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah,
9.3 and 9.3.
So
what a package, yeah.
That's it. So, yeah, it's funny because it is a very modern firearm. And it's a very technical design. It allows you to shoot from left to right-handed pretty easily. You basically just move the lever over. It's almost like that. But it's remarkably reliable, and it does exactly. You kind of think, is this going to be a bit finicky?
The only fiddly bit is putting the bolt on.
Okay.
The slide, if you want to call it a bolt.
Yeah.
So it's got the bolt in it, but it's a bit fiddly to put the slide on, and if you get it wrong, then the springs release out of the trigger assembly. You're just going to push all of them back in again. They don't fly anywhere; they just pop up if you don't get that quite right. But once it's on. That's fine. I originally thought that when you cocked it, it exposed so much of the inner workings that it could be a dust issue. But it's only open for a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah. It was good. It was really good. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind
thing I found
terribly much if it found a permanent home for myself. I thought long and hard about that, Jono.
The only thing I found that was, and I didn't use it all that often, was that the slide is a different action to a bolt action, a rotating bolt action. So muscle memory wants you to do a certain action with the bolt action. The slide is a different action, so you have to you have to retrain yourself to use the slide.
I found, and I didn't use it. I mean, we used it when we were sighting it in, but that was on a bench. That was just one round at a time, sort of thing. There was no. This was the first time it was used in a hunting scenario for me, and I thought long about what you said, Mark, about that action and making sure that you were actually using it a different way. And I tell you, when it came time to use it, it was completely instinctual. There was no thought whatsoever. It just pumped rounds out. Biggest issue I had was it was a 5-round magazine. It's supposed to be 4, fits 5. And I probably needed 3 in the pocket. Extra mags, that is.
You had a loader, though.
Yeah.
I had a loader when we were chasing the bluff.
Nor a loader. Yeah, so a spare magazine would be a really good idea. Yeah. Because that's what happened to me. I shot 2 buff, and I had an 85. And in the end, I was single loading it. I was shooting this buff, Zulu Dawn style,
Yeah.
Out of the pocket. So yeah, having a second mag would be very, very handy.
That was good.
But yeah, I'm really keen to see it to come out in the 9.3 and with the low power scope on it. I think it'd be a ripper
beautiful
buff. Yeah, because So and the package I was running was an 85 with a Ranger 1-6 on it, and that was that beautiful low power. The traditional dangerous game scope layout. So smallest tube but big eyepiece, and you just picture. It's like looking through a camera. Bang, there it is. Bang.
It was the perfect combination.
So something like that on the new BRX in 9.3 would be pretty diabolical. You could just shoot whatever you want with it type thing in this country. So yeah, I'm looking at I'm really looking forward to seeing what the BRX in 9.3 looks like when it comes out.
Same. Same.
Yeah. I think we might be requesting a couple of test rifles.
Most definitely. Yeah. All right, so we've got some other questions for you that we ask everybody. I'm sure you've rehearsed these ones already.
Go for it.
Go for it. Where do we start? We start with $1 coffee on your road trips. Will you stop and drink $1 coffee from the servo on road trip hunting?
No, I'd take my own coffee and and brew my own.
What sort?
Run the dog and gun, just
There you
pre-drip
go.
filters, pull up, get the gas, little cook going, boom, and off I go.
Right, no $1 coffee.
No $1 coffee.
Two in the cool kids
Kids.
camp.
Nah.
That's right. Yeah, it's a good pull up.
Mark?
I'm impressed.
Yeah, no, it's probably rather decent brew than I don't know, the $1 coffee. No, you can have it.
Yeah, agreed. Good on you.
So, the one that is often, an area of contention is that when you ask for a ham and cheese, do you expect tomato or do you
I expect just ham and cheese.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Right, and for me, I've got
Thank you
one.
very much.
Okay.
When you're heading into the hunting grounds or into camp, what song's playing?
No song. I've got the window down. I'm just taking it all in.
All right, just before you get to your hunting grounds and you're cruising along, mind your own business, what song's playing?
What have I got going? I've probably got a bit of. I'm trying to think. Oh,
Pick up your Spotify account that's
Yeah.
currently you haven't finished listening to.
probably a bit of dance, bit of electronic, bit of Rufus, bit of just beats for me. It's the one for me.
Okay.
Do you turn it down when you see
Or a
a
road
deer?
sign.
No.
I do that. I notice that when I'm driving along and I got sounds and I go, oh, there's animal. I don't go, I'll get binoculars. I go, radio. It's like
My wife.
somehow it's going to increase vision with decrease
My wife
noise,
laughs
increase
when I'm
vision.
trying
Oh,
to,
sure.
you finally get to your destination and you're looking for the final road sign. The volume gets turned down. Apparently, it helps.
Help you think.
Yeah. Do you have any cracker books that you would recommend?
Cracker books. Oh, what have I read recently? No, to be honest, I don't. I haven't. The last book I read was Edward Rutherford, historical fiction about China across the ages, which I quite enjoy. Edward Rutherford. That was the last book I read. So
That's not the years
No,
of
it's
rice and
not.
salt, was it?
So it's this one deals with just the opium trade and the British with China and
okay.
Yeah, I like my historical fictions.
Oh, interesting story. Talking about the opium trade. I was on a trip over in Asia once, and we picked up this old relic at some market. Paid some money for it. Got it home, and realised once we got it home, what we'd smuggled back was opium scales. And it was it's a timber box. You open it up, and this little scale stands up. Little weigh scales, and it's got little brass elephants, which are the different ounce weights.
Oh yeah.
And we realised they were opium scales. I don't know how the hell we managed to get that through customs. We've given it back to the authorities now, so it's in the right place. Yeah. Any other questions? They were our hard-hitting
Not for me.
questions. Yeah. Can you remind me again who the bad haircut is for? The Black Dog Institute?
It is. So the Black Dog Institute, it's mullets for mental health. You want another look at it? There we go.
Mullets for mental health.
So
In support of mullets for mental health,
that's
I'd like to propose that we run a reverse style auction, in that we will put together a prize pack of sorts of immeasurable value, because I don't know what it's worth yet. And whoever watches the episode and jumps in the comments and sends us a private message, send us a private message with how much you would like to donate to the cause, and the highest donation gets the prize pack. Does it sound like a worthy thing to
good.
do?
Oh, mate, sounds
Very
yeah, great.
There'll be hats, there'll be shirts, there'll be stubby coolers, there'll be blaze buff, there'll
merch.
be. I've got boxes of merch here that we're lucky enough to have that will put something of reasonable value together.
No, that's amazing. Because, yeah, they do a great thing with the odd research with the mental health, and I'm pretty passionate with that at the moment. And I think it's just, super important that we kind of get the conversation going, have it, get a chat, get it out there, and for any blokes in that or anyone listening out there that is struggling, make sure you do reach out. It is super important.
Definitely.
I lost a couple of mates last year to suicide, and it is tough. So yeah,
Yeah, righto.
So is this mullets for mental health? I'm assuming is a campaign. This is not now like your new lifestyle choice with that haircut. So
It's like Movember type thing.
Yeah, there'll be a
Correct.
bit of a
Yeah.
there's a timing issue. So we when we do the reverse auction, we'll just donate at that time rather than try and time it in with the particular campaign. So you can grow your hair back. What I'm saying is, you can grow your hair back when we do the reverse auction. You don't have to stay like that.
I'll be running this for September, and then I'll probably all go and I'll start again.
Yeah.
That's right, mate. Yeah, that's right. We won't make you keep it.
What Mark's trying to say is he'd like to join you in the mullet race. And,
No, Mark is not saying that.
We'll double the prize if Mark does.
If Mark wanted to, Mark would say that if that's what he wanted to do. And I grew up when mullets were actually a hairstyle.
Well, they are becoming fashionable again, so
They're coming back, but it's full September, and then I'll get rid of it. But yeah, great cause and get around it, and it's good.
that's awesome. Good on you, mate.
Fantastic.
any final comments?
Okay, gents. I think we're moving towards a
Yes.
closure.
So Liquid Antler. What are the social handles that people can? How can people find you?
Yeah, just Liquid Antler on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm trying to do pretty regular videos for anyone that's interested in the hunting, camping kind of lifestyle. Trying to make it from people starting out to more experienced. And if you just check it out, and I hope you enjoy. I'm continuing to hopefully improve my videos, and hopefully there's something in there that interests you.
Yeah, and from my point of view, check out the video about the state prize.
It's a good one.
It's got some great
cheers, thank you.
in that one.
Awesome. Right. Well, just to recap on the giveaway, there'll be the reverse auction. A bunch of merch will go into it. PM us with your bid. Highest bid wins the prize, and we'll get it out to you, and it'll be of reasonable value based on the bid number. And it's a great cause, so good on you, mate, for doing that.
Hey, legend. Hey, really appreciate that, guys, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. We'll call it a night.
No problem.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Thanks, gents.
All right, thanks again for your time, and good to catch up again.